You're listening to the Motor Mouths.
Hey, Motor Mouth! What's up, boys?
Firstly, I want to express the great pleasure I take in knowing these two men.
Motor Mouth!
Yeah, Rob, you called an automotive talk show.
Oh, did I really?
Yeah. Yes, you did.
You want to talk about car complaints.
Our trained staff of 2 will help.
And they know if you're doing a certain activity, whether it's motorcycling, you're under a car, you hump it.
What would a Thursday or Sunday be without you guys?
Oh, there must be something wrong with my car.
Quite frankly, there are better things to do with your time.
You know what scares me? Everybody that calls you know.
Are we on the air?
It's like, are these all cousins or something?
Okay, listen, don't you guys know I have the answers to everything?
Yeah, I want to know what the is wrong with my car.
I just want to call and say, very good show, very cool, those guys on there.
Motor Mouth!
I was told the importance of my bolts and where do they go.
Somehow that sounds pornographic.
I think there's smoke coming out of my headphones.
I'm enjoying the conversation listening to you guys.
I drive junk now. It's much better.
Are you the young man that used to fix the cars in the driveway in Brooklyn?
Somebody will call about God knows what, and you see the wheels turning around and go, oh, yeah, you do this, you do that, you go down to the deli, you make a sandwich, you come back, it's fixed.
So you guys have a great team. I have heard you guys before. You have a lot of fun. You seem to enjoy what you're doing.
There are answers, sometimes correct ones, and we may have them.
Motormouth Radio, 90.3 FM, WHPC.
Motor Mouth!
This is Motormouth Radio, your one-hour automotive talk show. And now, here are your Motormouths, Chris Switzer and Ray Guarino.
Alrighty, taking a break from all those good automotive talk shows, we're Motormouth Radio, your one-hour automotive talk show, right here on Long Island. I'm Chris Switzer, and of course, here's a man who's mastered the art of sorting it out, then doping it out, and then finally throwing it out. He'll tell you all about it right from behind the shop bench. It's Ray Guarino. How are you, my brother?
Pretty good, Chris.
You look good.
I've been doing all those things just in this past week.
Yes, I know. You mentioned it, that you are trying to get into some sort of garage cleansing of some sort, right? You were throwing things away recently, you were talking
When
about.
did I mention that?
Well, I've kind of exemplified it a
Okay.
little bit. I kind of said, I kind of
exaggerated,
encapsulated.
Yeah, no, it's all over the place. It's not just in the garage. It's all over.
Mm-hmm.
But, a lot of things to be done. And the weather is cooperating, so it's actually nice to be able to get some work done.
Totally. I'm loving this. I worked on the car. I worked on my car, Ray!
Wow.
This weekend. Would you believe it?
Wow.
The co-host of a fantastic automotive talk program finally worked on his car.
Who's that? Someone we know? Someone we should know? Someone we used to know?
Ray Magliazzi.
Yes.
No.
All right.
He called me. He says, hey, Chris. No, I was able to change the transmission fluid in the filter in the Dodge.
Okay.
I was able to do that.
It has a filter.
It does.
Okay.
I went through the police reports, the records on that vehicle. Mm-hmm. It was vehicle number 334 in the Branham County, Texas patrol fleet at one time, and I went through. I was very fortunate to reach out to the Branham County officials in Texas, and they sent me a whole dossier on that vehicle.
That's nice.
And on the dossier was no look at the transmission whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got to wonder why, huh?
I don't know. So I figured I got 90,000 miles on that puppy. I thought to myself, it's time to do a little tranny filter hijinks. So I did.
Well, that's the question people typically call us with and say, the car hasn't been serviced in this many miles. Mm-hmm. Should I leave it alone or should I service it?
Agreed. And what is usually our advice?
Well, we have varied advice. Your advice has been, to refresh your memory, has been to change the fluid but keep the old fluid.
Which I did.
Okay. How did the fluid look when it came out?
Not bad. It did look bad.
Really?
Yeah, it was still a variety of red, but still a darker type.
One would expect.
There was nothing in the pan. I mean, nothing that was...
No particulate.
Right. It only looked metallic. You know when you...
Which you'd expect.
Yeah. And there's a magnet, like a round circular donut-like magnet stuck to the pan, and that was... It had particulate on it, but it was kind of smooth and creamy. Mm-hmm. It wasn't hard and choppy. And it was just a great particular.
That's what you find. That's your...
I was pleased.
The metallic in the clutch material, that's some of the little bit of the drum.
But let me tell you how the engineers worked their magic with a transmission pan over a Dodge. Let me just let you know this. First thing I had to do, which I read about, and I thought it was okay, not a bad thing to do, let's get this done, was to take down the transmission brace The base back of the transmission is held on with this kind of all around type of brace. It looks like it's got many different applications, but on the Dodge it was just a basic piece of aluminum that attaches to the chassis and attaches to the back of the transmission. Easy thing to pull down, but I started to actually take it off, and I thought to myself, then what's going to be holding up the transmission once I take this down? So I thought, you know what? Go get one of my small little scissor jacks, and I brought it over to the front of the bell housing, and I ran it up to the front of the bell housing to keep that secure, and then I was able to drop the brace, which was a good thing. I kind of thought there.
Doesn't the car have a cross member in it?
No.
Side braces, something?
No.
Wow. Okay.
Nothing.
Interesting.
Once I took that down, you were wide open transmission right there, from stem to stern.
Well, it is attached to the engine, hopefully.
So I was able to remove that, and then I went for the pan. Now, the pan is kind of unique in its own way because it has only 6 bolts securing it to the transmission body.
Is it cast aluminum in that car?
It is aluminum.
Mm-hmm.
So what's cool about it was...
That is what's cool about it.
Yeah.
It'll cool the fluid because it's cast aluminum.
What is nice about the engineering of it is that there are small little washers that have a groove in them, but they're thick. Mm-hmm. They're thick, almost like tubes, and the bolts are fairly long. Mm-hmm. And that thick tube has got a groove that holds up the edge of the transmission pan. The pan obviously has an edge on it, and that's what it grabs onto. Mm-hmm. So the bolt physically doesn't go through the pan. So you really don't have an opportunity to squeeze the gasket. You know how sometimes you can over-tight a transmission pan and the gasket starts to ease out? Mm-hmm. Well, this does not give you that opportunity.
What type of transmission is that? The manufacturer, the actual...
Yes, I knew I read about it.
Okay.
I totally forgot.
All right, so we'll move on.
It'll come to me. But the gasket was a rubber type with the ribbed surface, which was kind of cool. I always liked those. So it doesn't need any goop or any sort of gasket type of silicone, which I was very pleased to see. But what I didn't like was that the bolts were Torx.
Okay.
Torx.
Most are in applications now.
Bother me.
Why?
Because I always have bad luck with them.
It's a superior fastener if you have a good Torx tool.
And I do. Because I've been bitten by the Torx.
Yeah. Oh, everybody.
I've had problems with them.
They're in everything, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I went and got the good Torx set that I keep sequestered over from the rest of the junk that I have.
What size? T25, T30?
Yeah, I think it was. It was about maybe half the size of a pencil eraser, if I can remember correctly.
Well, that's not a T25. Okay, whatever.
It was fairly small. I'm trying to figure out
I'm surprised.
what it would be.
It doesn't matter.
But that's what I was a little concerned about. So I got out the inductor.
Really?
Yeah.
Without even trying?
Without even trying.
Oh, boy.
I was taking no chances whatsoever.
All right.
And now I love the inductor. The inductor it looks like a flashlight. It's got a coil attached to it, and you use it. You put it over the bolt head or the nut of whatever you find questionable, and it heats this thing up, and 9 out of 10 times it will break that frozen nut free. Please go and look at one. They're wonderful. But anyway, I went and got the inductor, and I hit all 6 of those bolts with a little inductor stuff, basically, and broke them free, which worked out very well. And what was cool about it was you were able to almost control the flow of the transmission fluid much easier with 6 bolts than you have with 16.
Okay.
So what I was able to do was, since the car was up in the front, I went and took the back bolts off first, then went for the middle bolts, and that controlled the flow of the transmission fluid coming out of the pan into the catcher, and then those came off, and then I went for the other 2.
So let me ask you, essentially that's what you do when you have 16.
Well, it's true, but I've always found that when you have 16, it's a lot harder to regulate, at least for me.
I think it's easier to regulate.
Why?
Because you have more contact points and you can loosen them accordingly.
Always drove me nuts.
Well, okay.
Well, the only way I was able to combat that was the same way with this. When you had 16 bolts, I tried to take out the ones in the center and leave key bolts in the corners.
That's fine.
But when you do that, now it's starting to spill out the side of the pan.
Yeah, well, it's probably the amount that you loosen them. You just want to loosen them a little.
That notwithstanding, it was much easier to do it this way and much cleaner. It was a really, really clean job. I almost took a picture of the concrete because I had these little small stains. And I was going to say, my longtime radio colleague is going to be so impressed when he sees how stain-free my my cement is.
What type of fluid does that car take?
CRT4.
Okay.
Is that what it's called?
Four,
no,
yeah.
No, ATF4.
Okay. Yeah.
4 Chrysler products. It takes that.
That's the stuff I brought in that smells miserable.
Yeah, it really didn't have a very good smell.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah, really, it was right. The Chrysler fluid, the ATF4. That's what it was, ATF4. So CTS was the other stuff that's next to it for the Jeep.
Okay.
The Jeep's got the variable the variable transmission that just popped out of my head. But anyway, why am I doing this? The brain isn't working. Anyway, so I was able to remove the fluid, get the pan down with minimal amount of fuss, clean it off, slap it back up, fill it with what came out, because that's pretty much what I like to do. It's that Chrysler has this unique thing where you don't have a transmission dipstick. You have to go to the dealer in order to find out how much fluid you have in your transmission, which kind of annoys me a little bit.
You need a scan tool.
Yes.
What year is that car?
08.
Okay.
Why? What do you
continue?
have
I'll
what do you got?
Just continue. Model charger.
It bothers me when Ray comes out with a notepad of some sort, a spiral type of reference material, which you can see on vaughnlive.tv/motormouthradio. We're on live right now. You can watch us on video, and you can watch Ray. Ray's getting ready to start hammering me with questions.
The 09 Charger with the V6 6.2 or the V6 2.7 or the 3.5 liter. It's a 4-speed rear-wheel drive 42 RLE transmission.
Oh, thank you.
That's what it takes. Looked in my transmission guide, the 2009 Tranny Guide, Automatic Edition. You can look at this at WITTrans, WITtrans.com.
Thank you for letting me know my training.
Well, you didn't know,
no,
so
I didn't.
I was curious what it was. I still like to know a little more.
I did read it, though.
All right. So the fluid change went well.
I take bad notes.
That's good.
Went very well, and in the process, I was able to reach under there, and I grabbed a hold of the rack, the steering rack, to slide myself out from under the car. And you know what I found? The steering rack was loose.
Wow. That's always fun.
Don't know why. I had to tighten a bolt on it.
Okay.
I was howling. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But it's like we always talk about. Whenever you work on your own vehicle, or when you're doing
someone else's vehicle,
whenever you're doing something like that, it's always really cool to change the fluid. When you change the fluid, to look at when you change the fluid.
Well, it gives you time. It gives you time because there's time to wait. That's exactly what happened. The story I told last week when I worked on my daughter's Mazda. I went to do one thing and I ended up doing 4 things.
Right.
And that's conscientious. That's the way you're supposed. I mean, sometimes you don't have the time, but.
Let's take a quick break right here at Motormouth Radio, 516-572-7440. We'll be right back.
This is Motormouth Radio, your 1-hour automotive talk show.
WHPC 90.3, the radio voice of Nassau Community College, is looking for individuals, businesses, charities, or organizations in our local and global community that would like to donate to support our radio station. Whether you listen locally or online, here is how it works. Go to our webpage at ncc.edu/WHPC and click Donate Now. Or if you prefer, you can send a check to WHPC Radio, 1 Education Drive, Garden City, New York, 11530. Make check payable to the NCC Foundation. In the memo of your check, write WHPC Donate Now. Any contributions will help defray our operating costs, and it's tax deductible. This message was brought to you by the radio voice of Nassau Community College, streaming online at ncc.edu/WHPC.
Your car not running right? Let the Motor Mouths help you out at 516-572-7440.
All right, that's the phone number. Get a hold of us, 516-572-7440. Ray Guarino, I'm Chris Switzer. And, of course, forgot to mention the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour. It's right here. Drivers that have to work on their cars out in the weather because the garages are filled with crap. That's right. So if you're out there working on your car in this actually very nice weather, you're part of the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour. But yeah, so that was it. I was able to pull the transmission fluid change and filter change off with nary a hitch. It was very nicely done, and I was able to tighten up the steering rack and do a whole bunch of other things, like you say, little dopey things.
They need to be done.
Yeah,
because they do add up. Mm-hmm. I have an update on the Dodge Stratus, another Dodge. While we're talking about that, Mark, my daughter's rear defroster I was trying to repair with that conductive cold solder.
Yes.
I said I'd use a conductive cold solder glue to reattach the window, the heated window element, a brass tab that I made, and then I slathered that with a 15-minute epoxy to hold it in place.
How did that work?
Well, I went out yesterday morning. I saw we had frost on the windows of the cars, so she didn't have to leave when I did.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was cleaning and de-icing my own car, I walked over to hers, took the key, opened the door, and I was going to start it. I actually did start the car. I was going to turn the defroster on, and as I was going to push the switch, I turned back to look, and there was a wire in the thing hanging. I'm like, okay. So that's 2 strikes, 2 repair strikes that I have against you right now. I have to find a third method. So that one, it doesn't always work the first time, Chris. You know the things we do?
No, I agree. Now, just really fast, what does the cold solder joint, right? How does that work?
It's like a glue. It's in a tube, and it's a very black. It looked like a graphite, and it does set up like a glue. Uh-huh. And you could take 2 wires. If you had a sensitive area where you couldn't put heat into it, say in electronics, or if you're inside of
or glass,
an amplifier or glass, something like that, you can use this stuff, coat the wires, and it'll cold bond them and let electricity conduct. It actually has a little conductive element to it.
And
okay?
This was hanging.
And that's what I was trying to stick the brass piece to the glass with. I did, because I fashioned an aluminum arch to hold it for 24 hours.
Right.
When I removed the aluminum, it stayed, and then I slathered it with epoxy, a wider footprint of epoxy to kind of hold it in place.
Sounds like it should have worked.
The whole thing was hanging off the window.
Wow.
So, didn't work.
Now, here's my dumb question of the day. What would it take to do a quick solder joint on that glass? And I know it's...
I tried it.
You did?
Yeah, after the first cold solder didn't work, I said, okay,
I cleaned... took a soldering iron to it?
I used my butane-powered soldering pencil, yeah. I cleaned everything off, sanded, used brake clean, then sanded it, got to nice clean substrates again, tinned my brass, tinned the piece, but
right, because you only have like one shot at it.
Well, but if you remember, I said I was working now up above me, so gravity, the solder was falling on the seat, it was falling everywhere. So I had to now, it didn't work.
Right.
It didn't work.
Okay.
I don't know why. So now I need plan 3, and I don't know what to do. I still haven't formulated it yet, but when I find out, I'll let you know.
So if you can figure out, 516-572-7440. But meanwhile, the phone line is open, so give us a call. We're here for you.
I have a nice little holiday story for you.
Oh, go ahead.
Out of the Daily News, it says, gotta hustle and get rid of those disco balls. It says,
I like my disco balls.
Chris, it's had your name in small print after it. Yeah, this is one disco inferno you'd want to miss.
Oh, why is that, Ray?
Well, high-end furniture store IKEA Nuovo, which I don't know, I never heard of them, they got tagged with an $84,000 fine a little while ago for creating unsafe working conditions at its Fifth Avenue store, at the Fifth Avenue showroom, which included blocking a fire exit with piles of disco balls. Now, they had been fined a few times prior for blocking the same door with other items.
With polyester pants.
Well, things that were going to be used for stock on the floor. Right. Most alarmingly, anybody unlucky enough to be inside the third-floor showroom when a fire broke out might have had a tough time staying alive. Oh. I guess the author of this knew the movie, huh? Ouch. Back in February of, I guess, this year, way back when, OSHA found that the fire exit was completely blocked by all kinds of stuff, including desks, lamps, mirrored balls, the disco balls, popular with aficionados of a long-dead musical form once known as disco. I think it's still known as disco, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And it's not long dead. It's making a big resurgence in certain places.
No, it sure is.
An employee who declined to give his name said he was unaware of the OSHA citations. As he said this, he stood next to one such violation, which was a propped open stairwell door. So IKEA Nuovo apparently has a little trouble on Fifth Avenue.
Holy smokes.
Well, yeah, if the fire broke up, that's exactly, and you can sing that as you did the Hustle or the, maybe the Mexican Hustle or the Spanish Hustle.
I would just like to know what kind of store is this that they sell disco balls by the crateful that they can block a door with them?
Mm.
Or is it like the standard size? Is it because disco balls, from last I remember, came in many different sizes?
What size is the one on your mirror in your car? I think you have like the 3-inch one,
that's
right?
the ultra large one.
Oh, the big giant one, yeah. Actually, I saw one of those of all places, it was a home goods store. And it was the size of a small, like not quite volleyball size, but a little smaller than that. Yeah.
I had left, because speaking of which, this leads right into what I wanted to talk about. You had sent me the what was it, the trailer for Cruising 86th Street?
Yes.
And you had hives after watching it?
I did. Not from watching necessarily. Well, there were two things that gave me the hives. Some of the certain people in it did. And, but everything else was pretty cool.
That's what cracks me up is the fact that is where I grew up. Mm-hmm. Grew up with all of that Italianism.
Yeah, it's more than that.
What else is
There's
there?
Italianism in the Bronx that had nothing to do with that. There was Italianism. Yes, I know so. There was Italianism everywhere.
What would you call it?
There was Italianism in Staten Island, in New Jersey, on Long Island, and it wasn't associated. That had the culture, the car culture, as part of it. So
what we did on 86th Street, or you're saying everywhere other than 86th Street?
No. What the 86th Street was, it was all pretty much based around the car culture.
Just to be a Ginzaloon, you had to have a Caddy DeVille or a Grand Prix or a Monte Carlo or something like that. That was part of that Italian thing.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. But I'm saying it wasn't that way everywhere else necessarily.
It wasn't?
No, it wasn't. That's just the way it is. Look, everything is like that. Everything isn't the same everywhere. It's different, and that's what makes an area or something like that special, because it had an appeal that was unto itself. It was unto its own. That's why Saturday Night Fever hit that chord, because it really took, like you said, it was the Brooklyn documentary.
Yeah,
it's the slice of life of that piece of Brooklyn in that time period.
It almost sounds like you're championing this. It almost sounds like
I've never been against it.
I
just didn't live it like you did. I understood. I lived through it. Certainly lived through it. I went to see the movie when it came out. I mean, yeah. But I didn't. Our car culture, the car culture I was part of, was like Joe D's. Even though we were in different boroughs, I was in a county in a borough.
Right.
We had the cruising with the rock and the heavy metal and the burnouts and the drag race and street racing. Your cruising was something different.
No, that is true, because our like we always talked about, my cruising took basically anywhere from 10 to 20 miles an hour, and that was probably too fast. 20 miles an hour.
There you go.
516-572-7440 is the phone number. We're going to take a quick break right here, and then we're going to answer your calls. We're going to be upwards and onward with our knowledge that we're going to just fan upon.
We're going to spew it, yeah.
Yes, it's right here at Motormouth Radio. Your calls, a whole lot of stuff. It's all coming your way. Plus an Italian tune-up, too, that I'd like to talk quickly about, and hopefully I
did one of those this week.
To pry into the mind of my longtime radio colleague. Right here at Motormouth Radio, the best automotive talk show you're going to find right here on Long Island. So please keep it where you got it.
Your car not running right? Let the Motormouth help you out at 516-572-7440.
Do you own a car? Or have you ever seen one? Then you might be one of the millions of Americans who suffer from "there's something wrong with my car, but mechanics cost too much itis." Call the Motor Mouth at 516-572-7440. Our trained staff of 2 will help. There are answers, sometimes correct ones, and we may have them.
Motormouth Radio, 90.3 FM, WHPC.
Let the Motormouth help you with all of your car questions at 516-572-7440.
Welcome back to Motormouth Radio. We are taking those calls. 516-572-7440. Ray Guarino. I'm Chris Switzer, talking about Italianisms in cars right about now. Ray led me into the 86th Street, what would you say, documentary trailer that was on YouTube.
And it's not just Italianisms, because our past co-host, Mikey T, was Irish, and what he was doing in Farmingdale was the same thing I was doing in my part of Nassau County, which was, it was the car guy thing, really. It didn't matter what ethnicity you were.
Well, let's go to the phones and see what ethnicity you are with your car. Just hear that.
Hang up and ski. I guess maybe the brand of beer was different depending on where you hung out. I don't know.
Let's try it again. Hi, you're on with the Motor Mouths. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, who's this?
I have to shut off the computer.
Oh!
Hey, what's going on, boys?
How you doing, Mark?
What's up, Mark? How are you, brother?
I've been calling you for a while. It's been ringing on my end, but I see nothing happening on the display on your end.
You don't see the light coming on?
Oh, there was no light on. It was ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing.
Yeah.
Don't see the light, huh? Don't look at this light.
The lights are off, but everybody's home.
Yeah.
And I just sent you guys a text saying, quiet day or something like that.
A text to where?
To where? Where'd you send the text to?
You didn't send it to me.
I didn't get it.
Just send it to both of you guys where I usually send stuff to.
Well, those are email accounts.
Yes, I'm sorry, text, yes.
So we'll get those email when we read our emails much later.
Tomorrow. I said, I'm not sure if you can see this during the show.
Do you still have the computer on? Are you still watching the Vaughn feed?
Yeah, I see Chris over there laughing.
The text comes to this, Mark. That's where the text goes to. And I don't check the email on the phone.
That's true. I don't know your text number, so I can't do it. So anyway, hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Why don't they give you guys a chair? Oh.
You know why? Because
Why is that?
I enjoy standing. I do. I enjoy standing. I've been doing it in radio. You always have to stand for some reason. When you sit, you kind of hear it's like a compressed sound. When you stand, you have this full, crisp, clear tone.
And a peppy tone it is.
Yes, thank you. So I'm standing.
What's Joe Pepitone got to do with it?
Wait, after a while I'll be squatting, so.
I had this card way back when.
Joe Pepitone.
Oh, okay. What happened to Mickey Mantle and all the good old boys.
But thank you for noticing, Mark.
Yeah, no problem.
So, Mark, I have to say, one of our friends, our good friend Scotty Gossin out in Oregon, just had to do a repair on his Honda, and he was a little sheepish about mentioning it, although he did mention it on his blog, so everybody who reads it found out about it. He had to do a head gasket repair, and he did use Blue Devil.
Okay.
And I wrote back to him and said, Scotty, don't be sheepish. I said, Mark has used that stuff a couple times, and with great success.
Yep. You got to follow the directions to the letter.
Yeah, I don't know if he did or not, but we'll find out later on. So, what else has been going on with the cars in your world?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on your rear defroster problems here and there.
I'm open to suggestion.
Yeah, you're talking about the wire that's going to the window right where it starts?
Yes.
The lead?
Yes.
Okay, I forgot what car it was, but it was a bunch of years ago. I had done the same thing, basically soldered it on, glued it on, blah, 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 and it would always come off.
Mm-hmm.
What I done, I resoldered it, and it's very close to the, I guess, edge of the window.
About an inch or so away, yeah.
Okay. Well, what I had done, I took a piece of wire, and I basically wrapped it around the insulator right before it gets to the window.
Yeah.
And I basically put a screw through the metal or the plastic, whatever that was close enough to it, which kind of took the tension off the wire from falling down.
I gotcha.
And it worked. I mean, for me, it worked.
Yeah, I was thinking about jamming something. I was thinking about something the same fashion, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to get past the mechanical bond first. I haven't gotten it to be able to stick right, and it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, I had soldered it. I used a Weller 140-watt iron, a gun, whatever.
Right.
And in my case, it worked the second time because I took the stress off it.
Yeah.
But it's a hard thing to do, and I don't know why.
It is.
It's soldered from the factory, unless it's some kind of bonding solder.
Yeah, it could be like a resistance, like a low temp resistance weld where they just kind of zap it quick with a high arc, and it arcs it, right?
Mm-hmm. Could very well be.
It may be. I don't know.
Also, I have on the old Bronco, it has the electric grid on the rear window that goes up and down.
Yeah.
Right.
And over the years, the weather stripping on the outside and the inside, of course, gets all hard and crusty and stuff, which has been changed since. But I guess the folks before I had it would make the window go up and down, and it would crack the grid.
Yeah. Broncos had a lot of tailgate problems besides that, but that was one of them.
God, if it had, let's say, 15 grid lines on it, like 8 of them were bad.
Right.
And you go out and buy this stuff at your auto store. I forgot the brand name.
There was a repair kit.
Yeah, it's like a copper clad.
It's like Walbro or something.
Yeah, it's like copper print in it, actually.
Yeah, we used to sell those in the auto parts store.
And it works great. You put it on, and every one of them works now. And
okay.
You just pass it on to anybody.
There's a text. See?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Text coming through. This is from Joe D.
It's not me.
No, it's not you. But you know what? I'll get you the number, and you can join us too.
Just email it to me, I guess, and it'll stay private, of course.
Yes.
No, tell everybody.
Oh, sure.
Why would it say, we've been a big fat secret for how long, Mark? Tell everybody.
Oh gosh, years.
I know. It's frightening.
And that's pretty much it. There was something I wanted to ask you guys in the middle of the week, but of course, with the short term, it's gone, and I'll remember probably around 1:15 today.
There you go.
And I'll have to carve it into the monitor.
Right. We'll shoot it off. Shoot it off, email it or whatever, and then, of course, we'll get back to you.
Okay, yeah, and you usually do.
Yes.
Great advice. Anyway, guys, you have a good day, whatever's left of it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, my brother.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
516-572-7440 is the phone number to get a hold of us. But, yeah, that is something that is kind of frustrating. I think they have.
It is.
They actually they must put that heat element together away from the window. Like, they can't install it while it's on the glass when in the factory. You know what I mean? Like, they have to put it all together, and then they affix it to the glass.
No. I'm sure the glass comes from the glass manufacturer with the grid installed.
Okay.
I'm absolutely certain of that. Yeah, they're not going to do that because they wouldn't have a glass shop. So,
okay.
So Joe is texting. Joe, why don't you call us? Because I want to ask you a question about a Tech 1A that I was fighting with, and we can talk about that. But, yeah. So.
516-572. But real fast, I want to talk about an Italian tune-up.
Yeah. Like I said,
and Joe D at the same time. Wanted to talk about that. But, all right, let's do this.
That may be Joe.
All right, let's do this. We'll take this call. And then we'll get back to that and say, hi, you're on with the Motor Mouths.
Is this click and clack?
We've clicked and clacked. Yeah,
Yes,
we've
we have.
clunked and clunked, too.
Tipped and ring. Let's see. Beef and stew. How about that?
This is Tom from Massapequa. How you guys doing?
Of course it's Tom
What's
from
up, Tom?
Massapequa. We wouldn't recognize that voice any other way. How are you, my brother?
Hey, great. I got a couple of ideas for you. If you can't solve that brazing problem or whatever, why don't you just call Hesh?
Hesh
the Wreck.
Oh, Hesh's Auto Wreckers. Oh. Well, good answer. It is my daughter's car. We're trying to keep it going until she can get something newer. So, that's a father's bane,
Oh, no, I'm really just calling to see. Do you guys have any stories about... Me and my friends to this day still joke about calling Hesh the Wreck. Is he still around?
Yeah, Hesh's Auto Wrecking is still around, as far as I know, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. A friend of mine from Florida asked if Hesh was still around.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask you guys is, I remember back in the day when we needed parts and stuff in Westbury, we used to get Chabelli? There was some.
Oh yeah.
There was some junkyards in Westbury. Did you guys ever frequent those places with your Monte Carlos and your IROC?
No, that's back off of Old Country Road. A few times in the late '80s, I had gone there for a couple of parts, but my junkyards of choice were all South Shore, down in the Oceanside area, East Rockaway. That's where all of my yards are. And then I used the ones over in Flora Park a few times, too. But, yeah.
Got it. Well, listen, guys, I just enjoy your show, and I wanted to call in. I like to participate. Some days I'm better than others.
So are we.
And today you're fantastic, Tom.
Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Hey,
Thanks,
we'll
Tom.
talk to you soon. Bye-bye. 516-572-7440. All the good junkyards that I used to frequent are all gone.
A lot of them are, yeah.
Are all gone.
Sure.
And who do we blame for that?
The Environmental Protection Agency.
I was thinking the same thing.
Of course. The tree huggers. They don't want our junk. Now everything is, even like Jimmy's place in Freeport. Great yard, but now everything is late model. There's nothing really old, and everything goes to recycling and for scrap value.
No, really true. And you can't go and pick stuff anymore.
Out of state you can, and upstate.
Well, out of state, but meaning like somewhere like Pennsylvania.
No, there are some upstate. When you go up north of here, you can find a few. There's a couple of pick-apart yards up there that people have told me about.
Love those things. 516-572-7440. Ray Guarino. I'm Chris Switzer. This is Motormouth Radio and the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour. Drivers that have to work on their cars out in the weather because the garages are filled with crap. Oh, wait a minute. That crap is that project car that you're working on. No, that's your problem. Work on it faster. So if you got outside bone chills and lying on the concrete, hating it, well, you're part of the Motormouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour. Keep it where you got it. Got a lot more coming your way.
We'll be back with answers to your car questions. Give us a call at 516-572-7440. Oh, I should have said the Motormouth thing.
This is Glenn DeMills. Join me every Tuesday and Saturday afternoon at 5 for 2 big hours of music and memories with the chairman of the board. It's Frank Sinatra on Sinatra Serenade. Each week we'll take you on a musical journey through the career of this entertainment icon. It's all about old Blue Eyes. So listen to Sinatra Serenade on WHPC 90.3, the radio voice of Nassau Community College.
Streaming online at ncc.edu/WHPC.
Got a car question? Give the Motor Mouths a call at 516-572-7440.
We're back. It's Motor Mouth Radio, 516-572-7440. To the phones, to the fun. Hi, you're on with the Motor Mouths.
I can't wait to hear this Italian tune-up story.
There we go. It's the man in the clouds, Mr. Joe D.
What's up, my brother?
Guys?
What's happening, brother?
How are you?
Much. I'm just trying to get the volume down on my stupid computer here, but
okay.
How the hell with it? I'll just walk away.
There you go.
Most people do with this show anyway. They don't even bother touching the radio. They just walk away.
Yeah, they just walk into the next room. The heck with it.
So
either that or just leave it on eternal mute.
Story of our life. No, what happened was, I was telling you, Joe, about the pinging I was getting in the Pathfinder when I first started up in the morning.
Oh yes, the parking lot conversation.
Yeah. So what I decided to do, or at least give it a shot, I tried filling it up with another tank of regular, and I threw in a bottle of Chevron Techron.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I thought so. And then I took it on a trip to New Jersey. And it was Thanksgiving. I went from here to New Jersey, and I went LIE through the city and Jersey Turnpike, Garden State, all the way down to South Jersey. So that's what I did.
You were reliving your 86th Street.
Right, 25 miles an hour.
Here's the funny thing. Here's the thing. I used Waze. You know that's
the app.
The app?
Yeah.
It took me through the city on Thanksgiving. You know who's in the city unless they're concentrated around a parade? You know who's in the city? Nobody.
Nice. Waze is great.
Yeah.
Waze is very good.
Scooted through the Midtown Tunnel.
Did a good thing. Yeah, cool.
Down, all the way down to like 19th Street, cut across, came back up 37th, went through the Lincoln Tunnel, and I was, in Jersey like you wouldn't believe.
Nice.
So here's the thing. I had that truck literally going up hills because the turnpike has got like an incline that's kind of cool. So I was able to get on it. Coming out of the tunnel, I was able to get on it. So I was able to literally get that thing blown out. At least tried to.
Excellent.
So and here's the reason why I used the Pathfinder instead of anything else. And I was thinking, I'm going to sit in traffic. I'll use the Pathfinder instead of the Dodge, but because I was in no traffic at all and on these roads that had somewhat hills, that it was somewhat hilly, not really crazy hill, but somewhat hilly, I was able to blow a lot of that crap out. But the funny thing was, and I knew I did something different because the pinging is a lot less.
So we had a little bit of decarbonization going on.
I listened to my longtime radio colleague here, Ray, who said, you may have a carbon buildup. And I'm thinking, yeah, I may be right, because I use that car to go back and forth to work, and it's always a traffic jam. It always takes an hour and a half. I'm always riding the brake. You're always sitting in it and idling. So, of course, there had to be some sort of carbon buildup there.
Joe, can you pull one of the old water injection kits out of stock and have Chris hook that up?
Yeah, right now I got it leveling one corner of the table, but yeah, I'll get.
The theory was very good. You inject a little bit of water into the fuel mix, and it actually vaporizes, turns to steam, and helps bust up the carbon. The jury's out on how well it really worked, but in theory, the theory of it works.
I remember the old days when you used to pour a little water in the carburetor.
That's the same thing. That's manual water injection. Yeah,
and that was scary.
Same
that
thing.
Was that was called the Italian water trick. All the caddy owners did that because of the older caddies.
Oh,
Matter of fact, I have to thank Master Yank for teaching me that one many moons ago.
Yeah,
I used it in my Buick too. I used to pour a little bit of water in the carburetor.
Just kind of drip. Just hold your thumb in a certain way and just hold the RPMs up. And you'd be amazed at what kind of crap comes out of the tailpipe.
Oh, yeah.
Those era of GM vehicles, and Caddy and Buick specifically, had an issue with the Quadrajet. There was a foam seal that they retrofitted into the well for the primary metering rods, because after time the lead plug would leak. And it would empty the bowl into the engine overnight, and you'd have to pump the car to start it. And when you did, you have plumes of black smoke. So they put in this kind of like a fiber little...
like a filler, yeah.
Yeah, and then they didn't work.
People caught on to epoxy in the plugs.
They actually came in the carburetor rebuild kits. They'd give it to you in the kit. It was a black piece of foam that fit right into the well. And then, of course, we learned, hey, JB Weld, mix it up, JB Weld them, and then you're good to go.
Right, because I used to use the foam actually for like earplugs,
you could, yeah.
On the starting line,
Right, or when you had band practice.
There you go, that's it.
Right.
But it didn't work anyway. Huh? What?
Yeah. So that was my Italian tune-up story. I was able to get on that Pathfinder. And
we're on the right track. Then we have to keep that up.
Maybe something more aggressive than a Techron though, because Techron is fairly mild.
I don't want to do that because I'm always afraid of whatever carbon that I'll be removing with something more caustic may cause like oil burning or may cause lack of compression.
Right, you don't know what you're going to knock loose.
Well,
although I have a 3-word solution for you.
I love your 3-word solutions.
Let Ray drive.
Well, there you go, because I would be, not in third gear by the corner. I was going to say the other thing is, Chris and Joe, it's such a tenuous balance. You want to decarbonize, but like Chris said, you don't know how far you want to go, like I did with my Pontiac wagon years ago, because I did it aggressively, and then the car ran like crap after that, because the carbon was holding the valve, was actually making a valve seal.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah, there's a fine line with that.
It depends. What bothers you more, the ping or the,
Exactly.
You
might just pay to do that another couple times or two and see what happens. If you're in the right direction,
Yeah, I think the Nissan engines are pretty good. I think they can withstand some cleaning.
Well, they're pretty tough. They are pretty tough. God knows what I've seen. That era of that's the 3-liter, right, in that car?
Yes.
Yeah, especially the 24 valve engines. The valves are small. I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I see people neglect the crap out of them. We used to get a lot of like Maximas, Pathfinders to a certain extent, but people would just run them until they stopped. And then it was surprising how much you could actually get back running again.
Yeah.
They're pretty tough motors,
Yeah.
Now, as long as I can keep the thing from rotting away.
Well, that's forget it. On the same note, I was driving my wife's car, the Cruise, with the 1.4 liter 4 with the turbo. And we had to go make a few runs around town and go to get gas. And she said to me at one point, she goes, "Hey, you're driving the car pretty aggressive. What are you doing whipping it around like this?" I said, "Because you don't."
Right.
And she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm putting this car in driving parameters that it'll never, ever see when you're behind the wheel." and I'm so afraid, especially with that turbo, I want to keep that RPM varied. I want to, get on the highway and I will punch it and let that little thing go and let it breathe. And I tell you, and it really does. And it really does. You don't hear it. Whatever Chevy did, however they engineered it, it's so quiet. They don't even put, and of course there's no boost gauge. They don't want you to know it's got a turbo in it.
Wow. No. That's because the target market for that thing is like, what's that whistling?
Right.
That's not good. Let me bring it back.
And I tell you what, you would never know. I was like hoping to feel the boost thing. No, nothing. Nothing.
That's great.
You would never know there's a turbo in the car.
I love that.
But because of that, I'm cognizant of it, and I will. I did it with the Mazda too. I'd get on the highway and just punch it, just wood it to the wood. Just
right.
like blow it out.
Well, that is the best way. That is the best preventative measure for carbon, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
That's how, at least in my neighborhood, how the Italian tune-up originated.
Of course. Yeah.
I told you the story about the old ladies who used to come in to the station where I worked, and the local ladies. It was 100 miles between the last time they were there for their last inspection and this inspection.
Oh, God, yeah.
And the car's running like crap. And my station was right near the cross island. So I would just jump right on the exit and just lay on it for like the next 2 exits. Just below this black cloud of smoke, you'd see it receding into the distance. Yeah. Come back around. Okay, car's fixed.
Joe, how many cars have you done that to where you laid on it and the car just laid down and went boom? It just didn't go anywhere.
It was so bogged down.
Oh, I've had that happen.
Knock wood, it didn't happen too much. Mostly it was like, especially that demographic, it was a lot of Buicks and Caddies.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Joe, that's, I think, where your world, and I call it your world because you're ensconced in it more than most, that's where I think the fine art of engine management and fuel injection really is like the end all. That's really like one of the best things that's happened to cars because it doesn't happen as much unless you have a Pathfinder, apparently.
Yeah, so you don't know what the other 3 gears are.
Right. Joe, it's kind of funny because I had my young life, I used to work in the shop, and the guy had an Italian accent. His name was John, and he says, "I'm going to tune up your Jaguar. No problem, Missy. I'll take care of it." And he would get in the car and drive it across the Verrazano Bridge. Yeah. And that had a great incline. He would just lace right into it, get over the hump, and come back down, pay the toll, turn around, do the same thing on the return, and the Jaguar would be running like a champ when he would pull it back to the shop.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to bring it up earlier when you said the hills and the inclines.
Verrazano Bridge?
Well, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Verrazano.
The tolls are going up today?
Yeah, I heard about that too. No, the one of the best ways, especially with an older muscle car or car of the muscle car era, a V8 with a 4-barrel, They will load up a little bit. They'll get a little crusty. And one of the best ways, if you want to clean the spark plugs without taking them out and mechanically cleaning them, if you know they're not shot, is you want to use the car. If you can find a gradual incline, that's the best way to do it. And not run it to the wood, but increasingly, like go through first, second gear, maybe third gear, and then in third gear you accelerate, especially if you can get an incline. Gradually bring the load up because you increase cylinder pressure and spark plug output, and it actually helps clean the plugs.
So you're putting it on the load.
Right. What happens is if you wood it, everything goes up so high you can actually bake and glaze on the deposits on the spark plugs.
I remember that picture from the Champion spark plug chart.
I studied it, Joe. Yes, and I still
you too, huh?
Yes, and I still practice it today. Even when I drive my Pontiac, I know every once in a while I want to get it on an incline in third gear and just bring it up slow and easy and just let it clear out.
Joe, speaking of that spark plug chart, did you ever see the last one? The last spark plug that looked like someone took at it with a hammer.
Oh yeah,
and it's like the electrodes destroyed and the white porcelain is gone.
Yeah.
Do you mechanical damage, if I'm not mistaken?
Exactly correct. It was mechanical damage.
Because I've never seen that come out of a running vehicle. I may say I've never seen one of those.
Obviously, you've counted all the bolts after an intake job.
Yeah. Well, I actually did lose a piece of a piston once, and that played hell with the spark plug, but.
Right. Yeah. Because pretty much if you're down at that end of the chart, I would also be looking in like the Summit catalog or the Crate Engine catalog or whatever, because that's where you're headed.
Yeah, exactly. Or a good parts store. You're right.
Right. That $2,000 you had.
Joe, how do you deal with the engine life and the engine health on a car like the Chevelle? It doesn't get a lot of use, but gets limited use, and it's not really taking long trips. How do you deal with that?
Basically, you wait until you can schedule it so that you get the car out of the garage where the owner is someplace of blissful ignorance, and then the Italian tune-up it.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, because at that point, you got to turn the thing loose once in a while. Even just to cruise down the highway, just to blow it out, because at idle, carburetors, you can do your worst to get them things dialed in, but they're going to drip every once in a while. There's going to be a little bit extra fuel. Some cylinders are going to get more fuel than others.
Yeah.
So at that point, what you really got to do is you got to cook it, like what you were just saying with what you do with the goat.
Right. Well, that's why I like that's why I like doing the highway stuff a lot, because it kind of keeps that RPM up and it keeps it more in that fresh zone, I think.
Yes, rumping around town is all well and good, but every once in a while you got to cut it loose, otherwise the quote unquote cobwebs form.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Did you mention something about the Tech 1 there?
Yes, I didn't get to work on the Saturn maybe today, but I did take it and said, let me use this on plug it into my Impala and play with it. And then I remembered you had given me a Tech 1 a while ago.
That very one?
It's not the Tech 1A, though. It was the Tech 1. And
yeah, that's right. At some point along the line, I had a spare Tech 1.
Yeah, and there's a cable issue with that. The cables were all molly-fodged together, so I'm trying to sort that out. But anyway, I took yours because the cables don't interchange between the 1 and the 1A, so I couldn't use that one.
The 1A was an aftermarket version of the 1. The 1 was an actual dealer tool.
But I did put it on the Impala, and I got the main menu screen, do self-test, do keyboard check, do all that. But then I went to look for some data, and it told me that, the module wasn't, and I had the chassis module plugged into the thing. And it was like, huh? It wasn't seeing it. So I played with it for about 20 minutes yesterday and kind of scratched my head, tried a few, and then it froze up. It actually froze up a few times. I had to kill the power, plug it back in, and I had no luck. So
that was the 1 or the 1A?
The 1A, yours. Yeah, the one that you just lent to me just a couple of weeks ago.
That's interesting. Although I haven't used that much. The last time I used that one was about maybe 6 months ago.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't get to do much anymore. That only comes out for older GM cars. I had an 89 Celebrity I needed to look at, and the Tech 2 stops at 92.
Right.
So I had to bust out the 1, which is it's just it could be a software glitch. So you were in the chassis mode on that thing?
I put I put the chassis cartridge in. Yeah. Because everything else, all the other cartridges were not germane to that car, and it was earlier stuff, and it did say GM chassis.
And the Germans had nothing to do with it.
They didn't. No, this was definitely an American problem. So, whatever. I just wanted to bring it up.
Well, you know what you do? The mass storage cartridge
should
have GM chassis in that as well.
Oh, okay. Or maybe take the other chassis out.
Right, yeah. Just pull out when I put the mass storage cartridge in, and I believe you're going to have GM chassis in that.
Got it.
Yeah, in other words, I just kept everything together, but pretty much the mass storage stuff is the latest and the greatest. In case there was I think there was a firmware update done to that tool.
Right.
So it might just like the mass storage rather than the specific cartridge.
All right, I'll run that later on. I'll check it out and see.
Excellent.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, my brother.
It was always as fun. As always, it was fun.
Yes.
And I love the Italian tune-up story. That's excellent. Now let's get a couple things in about the 86th Street thing, though.
Yeah.
I noticed that in that trailer, there was not one hot rod.
No.
To be found.
No.
Any place.
There was a Z28 though. There was a Z.
Huh. Nope.
No Grand Nationals. Yeah, just Tommy. Fat Tommy and his caddy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I watched it on my phone, so I might have missed something.
Yeah, you got to look at it on a computer. And it was more about pizza than anything.
Yeah, I figured, you know what, that would be good because you could also bubble it as a lubricant in case things were down, you were down, you couldn't get to the parts house,
The oil, yeah.
If that didn't work, you put it in your hair.
Your hair.
Your hair. All right, my brother, we're going to run.
Guys. Take care.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. 516-572-7440 is the phone number. When we come back, I want to bring up something that is not equipped in any vehicle but should be. How's that? Not equipped in any vehicle but should be. That's Ray Guarino. I'm Chris Switzer. This is Motormouth Radio. We'll be back right in a little bit.
The Motormouths will be right back with your car questions. Give us a call at 516-572-7440.
Break out the mood rings and slip on the platform shoes. It's the Super 70s. The decade that brought us Elton John, Donnie Marie, and Fonzie are back on WHPC. Join me, Ron Stevens, as we count down the top 20 hits of a featured week and hear lots of bonus hits from that memorable decade. So listen to the Super 70s on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College.
The Super 70s, Tuesday at 12 a.m. and Saturday at 7 a.m. on 90.3 WHPC.
Have a question about your car or someone else's car? Then give the Motormouths a call, 516-572-7440.
Welcome back to Motormouth Radio, the premier automotive talk show right here on Long Island. I'm very proud to say that. I'm Chris Switzer, of course, Ray Guarino, and we're taking those calls, 516-572-7440. And I want to tell you a little story. So, of course, I was talking to my mother-in-law yesterday, and she drives a silver Camry, which I've come to realize that when you look at the overheads and see a missing person, every missing person on the overhead signs over every highway, if you see a missing person, they're always driving a silver Camry.
You know something, Chris?
Yes,
when
sir.
you said that last time, I sort of disagreed, but since then, I've seen 3 of them.
Yeah,
they weren't all Camrys, but they were silver cars.
They were silver cars.
Actually,
okay.
One wasn't. One was gold. So it was a gold caddy.
Half right. Well, anyway.
No, you were a lot more right than wrong, I would say, yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
Actually, you brought it up.
Well, thank you for bringing up the fact that you verified it. Anyway.
Forget that.
So here I am. She had said to me that basically she was looking for the emergency brake. She was parked on a hill and looking for an emergency brake, and she could not figure out where the emergency brake was because
on her car
because she never used it. Because it's New Jersey is kind of flat too, at least where they're from. So what she did was she pulled on something under the dash.
Yeah.
And thought she put the emergency brake on.
She opened the hood. Did she?
So we get in the car. Don't take my thunder. So
we
get in the car.
Okay. Well, you put it in such a way. So I'm thinking it's going to be cryptic, but
I figured she popped the trunk. Well, get in the car. She drives all the way home, pulls into the driveway, and as luck would have it, she get out of the car and she saw that the hood was open.
Yeah.
And then turns to me and says, "Why isn't there an idiot light for a hood release?"
Good question.
And
there is not.
Dumped. I'm like, well, what?
You're right. There isn't.
Yeah, there is no hood release idiot light. There's certainly a trunk
Most
release.
cars will tell you when the trunk is open or the doors are ajar.
Doors are ajar, but nothing for the hood.
You're right.
And I'm thinking to myself, oh, God forbid, you could have been driving along on a highway or something, throw the whole hood.
Well, let's say back in the 60s when they went to the double latch hood system, that precluded the danger. Because I've been in cars where the hood flew up and over the windshield. On a single latch system, and man, it ain't fun.
But the funny thing was, I asked her, I said, weren't you aware that was a hood release? And she said, I haven't opened a hood since they were in
Eisenhower was in office.
There was like a little pull thing in the grill. She said, I'm like, oh my God, what the heck was that?
Did you tell her to move her pocketbook from that resting place where she keeps it, and she'll find this rod, and there were little silver, kind of looks like my pen, and you'll find that in there, and That may do something.
What? Isn't that the truth? Why do all women do that? They put their purse right there.
It's convenient.
So,
yeah.
So that was one of those things.
Did you show her where it was?
No.
Oh, why not?
She doesn't want to know.
Okay.
Didn't want to know.
See, that's the thing. She's doing a disservice maybe to the next owner because without using the brake, the cable can actually get,
probably,
there's a whole bunch of stuff that can happen.
Right, but she'll keep this thing till whenever.
Till you get it. Then you'll be changing cables and handles.
I'll be listening to Motormouth Radio to find out how to do any sort of Toyota Camry emergency brake repair. What?
Joe just said newer cars do have it. Well, a hood actuation, a hood light. I have to check and see if the Cruise has one.
Yeah, I'm amazed. I was shocked. She said that she did not see a light and turned to me, and I'm dumbfounded.
And truthfully, with the telemetrics and wiring in the newer cars, I'm not surprised. It's just another little sensor you could put in there. It's an easy thing to do.
How hard can it be? I mean, I understand. Don't get me wrong. I see everybody's all going to start rolling their eyes. If the hood is open, aren't you going to know if you see it?
Well, no.
But yeah, exactly. I'm thinking about this, and I went, probably not, because the hood dives so low. The design of the car,
especially because of the architecture of the sheet metal, where it drops because of the lower radiator heights.
I mean, I could understand if it's your GTO. You know what pretty much where the edge of the hood is.
Speaking of that, a lot of times in the garage, I do leave the hood cracked open because I have the battery tender on up on the core support. And there's a few times where I've pulled out, going someplace, and I get out onto Sunrise Highway, and the hood you hit about 40, and the hood lifts 3 inches. I'm like, double hood release. Okay, get out, pull over, bang, slam it down, and away I go. But again, that's with a double latch. If it wasn't, I'd be seeing that levitation.
Yeah, and just think of the fear. I've never experienced a hood release like that.
I've had it happen a few times.
I've been around people that it's happened to, but I've never.
You got to see it in the car. It's quite an eye opener.
I've never had it happen to myself. Let's go to the phones real fast. Let's go to the fun. Hi, you're on with the Motor Mouths.
Welcome. Good day, sir. I like your show.
Oh, thank you so much.
Jonathan from Manhattan.
Jonathan.
Hey, how are you, Jonathan?
Good.
It's been a while.
I have a 91 Buick Park Avenue, and I was wondering if it pays to put another engine in there.
Didn't we cover this in a previous show?
We tried talking about this, I remember one time.
I think we did.
I don't know.
Yeah, because we talked about that.
Yeah, well, let's real fast. The engine's going to run you a couple of grand at least.
Wow.
Do you really think that you would want to do it with a car like that, or is
I thought the car is kind of old,
Well,
and maybe something else is going to fall apart.
But we talked about
that much, $2,000.
Yeah, but we talked about too. What would it cost to replace the car?
Right.
How much are you going to have to spend to replace that car? And it's not going to be $2,000.
Yeah, so basically what we were trying to get at is there are many more questions to ask before you get to that one.
Okay.
Like if the car needs a whole slew of work and it happens to need an engine, you may think about replacing it. But if the car is beautiful and it needs nothing, then you may move me to drop it.
It needs work, I know that.
Right. It needs
okay.
So I'm here. Maybe I should just forget about it, I think, right?
Well, also, here's another thing. When you use the car, do you use it like around town? Do you not care where you don't care where you park it? You don't care if it's locked or not.
I leave the door open even.
Yeah, sometimes you know what?
Take it.
Cars like that have a value to you and I. So
But you can buy another one.
Well, that's true. You can buy another one with another. What would you say?
You buy them all the time.
Yeah, like a beater. They used to call them beaters, jerkers. Cars like that.
Where would you look to get those old cars?
Right. Yeah.
Where do you look for them?
Well, look at local ads, in the neighborhood, Craigslist, you could look. But I'd say a local ad, somebody, they know that it's not going to be a high dollar sale, so they kind of they don't do high dollar advertising for cars like that.
All right. Thank you for your help, okay?
Check the local...
Good show.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bye-bye. You know what I like to do with Craigslist real fast is I like to just
go to that other section?
You'll see. I like to go just in the search part, just put in how much I can afford.
Yeah.
I can afford $2,000 or $4,000.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. And just let's see what comes up in that price range.
Jonathan, if you're still listening, one of the places that you can go, one of the best resources is the guy who services your car. If you go to a mechanic or a shop, ask him. Tell him, listen, I'm going to get rid of this car. I'm looking for something just to knock around in if you hear of something. Because mechanics, he's going to hear about Jonathan's car.
Sure.
And maybe he'll take that off his hands because he knows someone that needs parts or whatever. And then, he'll also know of other cars that would be for sale.
Very cool. Well, there you go, Ray. Another hour shot to hell.
Sure was. Now I got to get busy this afternoon.
Pretty much.
Listen, next Thursday we're slated to have our good friend Dennis Pitchenbarger call in, tell us all about his TV exploits for the new season upcoming. See if he got picked up.
Sounds awesome. For Ray Guarino, I'm Chris Switzer. This is Motormouth Radio. We're going to talk on Thursday. See ya.
Bye.
And don't follow us home either.